Hey, what's up, YouTube? Back again with the other video by Robert Lanza, and we're still talking about biocentrism. Now, this is part two of the video, and I really want to touch up on the part he was talking about the kitchen not being there when you're not observing it, and being there when you are observing it. As we all know, when you go into the kitchen, light bounces off the objects and the photons, particles, waves hits the retina and you're able to see the kitchen. He says light has no real physical properties, no real color or brightness, but it's the electromagnetic waves that hit the brain, and then once it hits the brain, then the brain creates, color, shape, and size, and that's what you see in the brain. And all of that actually just exists in the mind. It doesn't actually exist in the external world. So I thought that was really weird. I'm still having trouble wrapping my head around that, but I would imagine myself turning off the lights in the kitchen and going into my room. Is the kitchen still there? I don't know. I could picture ants that might be crawling on a counter, running around and eating food. And then when you get back to the kitchen, the little crumbs that you did have are gone. Even though you was not observing the kitchen, there were things still taking place. Another thing I was also thinking about, if you go into the kitchen and the lights are off and you just so happen to accidentally bump your knee on a table or on a counter, even though you're not observing it with your eyes, your body can still interact with the physical objects. So if you were in the kitchen, the lights were off, or your eyes were closed and your brain was not interacting with the light at all, the physical part of your body can still interact with a kitchen that supposedly is not there. I don't know. I find that part was really hard to, I still can't wrap my finger around it, but I don't know. I could agree with him on some things, but the kitchen not being there when there's no observer around, I don't know. I do believe that there are parts, especially light and color, that actually interacts with your brain. There's no true colors, just perception. Some of the things he talks about, if you really think about it, if you're familiar with NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, they actually talk about how reality is actually perceived and is actually subjective, which means what you're perceiving is actually happening in your mind. Because of NLP, that is the reason why I can agree with the whole biocentrism theory, if you want to call it a theory. I don't know, but that's why I agree with it, because NLP does back some of the things up with that, and biocentrism backs up NLP. Just certain things that's hard to get my head wrapped around. I really don't want to spend too much time talking about the kitchen subject, about the lights being off and you not being in the kitchen and not being able, the kitchen does not exist if you're not observing it. I still think the kitchen does exist because there are things that can happen in the kitchen. Ants can eat your food. Something can drop on the floor. You can hear it. If a plate drops and you're not observing it, it's still going to break on the floor. There's still going to be glass. If a glass cup drops on the kitchen floor, there's still going to be glass, whether you're observing it or not. It still happened. But I think that comes into cause and effect, and he actually talks about that in one of his other videos. You can't stop cause and effect. It still happens. But yeah. I didn't really know what I was going with this. I didn't have much notes on here. I just wanted to talk about the whole kitchen thing because if anybody can make sense of this, or in the comment section below, let me know, because maybe I'm missing a piece. I don't know. Maybe I'm not getting it, but it's been really hard to wrap my finger around. I think that's all I really wanted to talk about. But I think the brain is an amazing thing, how all this reality is actually happening in our minds. And an external world is completely something else. And that begs the question, is there truth? Is there such thing as truth if it's happening in our minds? And subjectively speaking, there is no truth. Does it take away from objective reality? It could, but I think existence / reality without human consciousness can be subjective, but I think humans are here to coexist with reality, coexist with existence. And then when you have that human component, it becomes an objective reality. It becomes an objective reality. It can be an objective reality. Just because something is happening in your head and it's subjective, it doesn't take away from reality actually being objective. I think it can be partly objective. It doesn't have to be black and white. It can be partly objective, a little bit objective, and a little bit subjective. We live out our days being objective. We go to work and pay bills. We have goals that we want to accomplish. I think human beings make the world objective. But, yeah. But anyway, that's all I really had to talk about. I'm going to continue to try to make new videos. It probably won't be on this topic, not unless I come up with something I really want to talk about. Eventually I'm going to get a camera and I'm going to talk about other exciting topics. Not to say that this isn't exciting, but I want to actually expand and talk about a lot of other subjects that are fun, entertaining, and educational. Alright. This has been Kashuri Does, signing out.